So, ma'am, let's start with the most basic thing. What is therapy exactly?
Therapy can be defined based on what philosophy are you coming from. So, if I use more of psychoanalytical psychotherapy, we say that as a child we were brought up in a certain kind of environment, and to adjust to that space, we basically build certain kind of ways of handling it. Based on that, we had certain kind of defense mechanisms, certain anxieties, and we managed it successfully as a child. But when we grow up, these things create problem because something which we learned as a child is not working as a grown up. So we need to go back, look at those childhood ways of handling it, and find a different way of handling the same situation, which is more adaptable to our age and maturity. So in a way, sometimes what therapy is called as reparenting, it talks about how we redefine our stories about our life. It might be almost redefining our thought processes in our lives. So based on what philosophy are you coming from, defines how the therapy goes.
And ma'am, what would be the goal of therapy exactly? Like, is it just about solving any problem or an issue? Or is it just about basic life skills?
See, basically if we see solution focused therapy, yes, we might just find solution to what is the problem. But when we are looking at analytical work or deeper work, we are looking at basically working onto our personality issues, or whatever we developed as a child is creating problem. Now we need to redefine it. So it might be a story that we might need to redefine. Actually, what defines the philosophy of the therapy defines the goal of the therapy.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it might sound a little silly, but can my therapist be my friend?
Absolutely impossible. Even ethically, it is not, means it's basically illegal to be having any other kind of a relationship with your client. And if we talk about in terms of philosophical, we'll have to be careful that we cannot have a friendly relationship, because therapy is that boundary which a therapist creates, gives you space where therapy can happen. If that boundary is broken, there would be a process where you might abuse, as a therapist, I might be able to abuse my client easily, and the other way around also. Because these are vulnerable situations. These vulnerable situations can be exploited.
Yes.
So it can never be, means you cannot heal the other person in a friendly relationship. It never happens.
Yes. And then what if I just feel that I am not that sad, or I'm not, my problems are not bad enough. My problem is not that big that I need to go and take therapy. But it is affecting me and it is affecting my daily life.
See, we all feel scared of going to therapy. It's as simple as that. We all try to sometimes underplay our issues, and what is something that should be in substance abuse. It's very commonly said that should be hit the rock bottom basically to seek therapy. I've always said that therapy is not supposed to be seen when you basically hit the rock bottom. It's best to seek therapy at the earliest possible, because it will be more difficult for me to contain myself when I've already hit the bottom. It is going to be more difficult procedure in itself. When I'm almost at the verge of killing myself, or I'm at a stage where I've lost all my finances, or I've lost control over myself, it is best that we do it earlier. It makes more sense. But yes, it is scary. Completely understand that when we all feel that if we can postpone. My therapy, I almost took 2-3 years, I think, to start my own therapy when I started working in the field. So it takes time to basically start your therapy. that fear can be understood, but the earlier you reach, the better, right?
Ma'am, for example, I started my therapy and I'm taking therapy regularly as per my counselor. But how do I know if it's working for me? What are the things that I should look for? Because sometimes the development might be, very minor. Sometimes the development is huge. So how can a person identify कि the therapy that they are taking is actually helpful to them?
See, every person gives a different kind of therapy, and every school of therapy works very differently. But we usually say that you have to give yourself at least 6 months to analyze where your therapy is going. It shouldn't be like 1 or 2 sessions and I'm running away. But when you are completely in contradiction to what your therapist might be saying, you might want to look at another therapist, because that therapist might be using a philosophy, or at least bringing it up in the therapy, that this is not working out for me. Might be needed because every therapy has different bases, and every therapy is not meant for everybody. So based on that, you can talk to your therapist. First of all, I think in today's cancellation culture, we are basically even cancelling our therapist. All of a sudden just absconding, not being available. It shouldn't be that way. We should basically, in a way, maybe talk to the therapist that this is not working out. But if the philosophy in itself is contradictory to what we believe in, then maybe that's not the kind of therapy that you want. But it does take, for any therapy to work, it does take time.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. I think it is a very slow and steady process that we need to continue on.
Yeah.
Ma'am, let's talk about another situation. Therapy is working, and I can see that I'm doing well in my life now. But I don't really feel comfortable with my therapist. We have not really clicked. I did not feel that comfortable. But although when I take the sessions and when I follow the instructions, it is helping me. So there is this, it's helping me as well, but I'm not comfortable, I'm not clicking with my therapist.
So then you're not doing deeper work with this therapist for sure. So if you want, if there was just a hand, many clients also come to us that we have communication problem, maybe English problem or something, and how can we manage this? If your target goal was only that much and it is being worked out with the therapist, fine. But in case you are in your therapy for your deeper work, it is important to bring it up in therapy and tell your therapist that you are not comfortable. And maybe you and that therapist needs to see into this case that what is making it so uncomfortable. Because that might be something about the therapist, it might be something about you. What is happening needs to be addressed. Because otherwise you will not be able to go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. But it's tough to really talk about our personal issues and how we see life, how we behave in certain situations. And of course, everybody feels scared that, even though we know
That will be
is
judged.
Yeah, a therapist is not supposed to judge you, but we feel like, if I say this, my therapist might judge me. So how can somebody came out of this fear, and what actually goes through in a therapist's mind when they are talking with somebody?
See, therapy is a process of knowing an unknown. See, it's a relationship that you develop. With your therapist also means when a client comes to me, I don't expect the client to tell me all the truth in the first session. And if the client is telling all the truth in the first session, I might really wonder what's happening over here. Is he too amateur to say anything? Or is he over-believing into me? What's happening? So, obviously there are places where you are scared that your therapist will judge you. But these things usually, when we are especially doing analytical work, we like it to be brought in the sessions. We would like our clients to talk about this factor that, I am feeling anxious that I might be judged over here. So, it is important to be brought. But if there is something which you are not at all able to talk to this therapist of yours, and you are not even able to open up in that session that this is what is happening, at some stage you might have to, means if the rapport could not be built because of any reason, you might need to look at a possibility that this is not the therapist for you. Because every client is not meant for the same kind of therapy and the same kind of therapist. The other way around too. So it's not a mandate that everything will work out. If it is not working out, do give it a chance at least by speaking about it. But if you think you cannot speak about it, maybe because you're very uncomfortable with a man that you're going for therapy and you're being sexually assaulted by a man which maybe looks similar to this person, maybe you'll never be able to talk about your abuse with him. There's a fear that will I be abused again, or anything of that sort. There are a number of things playing out. Like interestingly, I'm reminded of this client of mine who came in the first session and told me about how he had sexually abused a girl. And I did actually in the second, third session talk to him about the fact that I don't understand why did you choose to make me uncomfortable in that session by bringing it up as your first statement, opening statement that you are here because you were sexually abused somebody. So why did you choose a female therapist? What was happening there? So it's important to be brought into the therapy session.
Yes. Ma'am, I think at this point everybody knows that you should never lie to your therapist. But what about situation where you are not completely truthful, yet you're not even lying to your therapist? How does that delay your development?
I did say it earlier also that it's a new relationship. You might not lie, but you might even lie. It's difficult. See, we have been brought up in a society where we are said how we need to be very careful as to what we say. We are all scared of being vulnerable. We might lie to begin with. We might, over the period of time, develop the courage to open up. So, yes, it does delay, but that's the process of how therapy happens. Being a person coming from Freudian understanding, we say we even lie to ourselves. So, if we lie to ourselves, we do lie to others. So, just diagnosing it as a lie or truth, that's not how therapy works. We all do that.
Yes, thank you so much. A lot of things, it cleared a lot of things that I had questions about in my mind. So thank you so much. And a small message for our viewers.
See, therapy, we all have our fears before starting therapy. We all come from a place where there is a lot of taboo. But I think if there is a concern and if you think, it needs to be addressed, maybe trying for a therapist is a good idea. But also that choosing your kind of therapist is very important. Choose the kind of therapist where you are comparatively more comfortable. Even the best professional, even if the professional is well educated, if you don't click with that, maybe that's not the therapist for you. Just look at what is good for you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, ma'am.